Great. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this session on reading through adaptations. I'm Becky. I'm the Chief Exec of the English Association, and it's my pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Just a quick word about the EA. We are a learned society and a subject association, which was founded in 1906 to promote, support, and celebrate the discipline of English studies. We cover all stages of education, from primary and early years through to secondary and further education, higher education, and beyond. And we cover all parts of the discipline across language, linguistics, literature, and creative writing. Events like this one are made possible by the fantastic contribution of our volunteer speakers. So thank you so much to Ellie and Lucy and to Joshua for giving us your time and your expertise so generously this afternoon. Our members also make it possible to keep these events free and open to all by paying their membership fees. So if you would like to contribute to the national conversation about English and help support our discipline, please do consider joining us. It costs just £55 to support our events and campaigning work for a whole year, and you get access to a range of member benefits, including online access to all our journals. Right, that is plenty from me. So it's now my pleasure to hand over to Ellie and Lucy. Thank you.
Thanks, Becky, and welcome everyone to this session. Well, we'll be exploring some of the new materials that Ellie and I have been working on with ERA, and which we hope will open fresh dimensions for students as they get to know their set text for GCSE. I'm Lucy Hobbs from De Montfort University, and Ellie is a practicing English teacher at a local school in London.
Everyone.
Ellie, I'm going to have to rely on you to prompt the slides off.
Of course.
Thank you. So, what are the main aims of the Reading Through Adaptations resources? The resources place the set text front and centre, using adaptations as a creative and enjoyable way to add depth to students' understanding of their set text, in this case, Christmas Carol. We're going to show you how the activities and resources have been designed to help the student develop skills for both English language and English literature exam outcomes. And the resources are also, of course, a showcase and point to the extensive range of productions on the ERA site, available via the free license that they offer for all schools to explore. I imagine that most of you have probably had a glimpse at the materials already and therefore are sort of signed up to ERA. But if anyone isn't, the number of wonderful materials, BBC materials that are hosted on the Shakespeare and the Literary Archive are well worth investigating. Okay, next slide, please, Ellie. So why adaptations? Adaptations are an engaging introduction to English GCSE texts and can also give a flavour of the text before it's studied in detail. We know that a lot of adaptations are already studied in school, either as an introduction or perhaps with Christmas Carol just before Christmas. But we're obviously producing materials that sort of help to engage with these in some detail. And this could, in fact, potentially be used in year 9 if there's more space and in the sort of timetable there for a sort of preparatory 19th century text introductory project that could also look at other sample extracts, sample texts and approaches. I'd like to sort of really enhance the fact that students already have those inherent visual literacy skills. We all know sort of how much time they sort of spend watching YouTube videos and selecting their own programs, making up their own programming and studying what's going on screen. Sometimes they're not always aware of this, and so if we can sort of help to make these more explicit and sort of start where they're starting from, but then say, oh, actually I already know a lot about this and I can apply it to the text that I'm studying. It also might bring the experiences of the characters in the text a bit closer to their own experiences when we're dealing with 19th century texts. Students also may appreciate and benefit from adaptations as a way of diversifying set texts I mean, thankfully now with sort of the Lit in Colour projects and things like that, we're beginning to get a lot more set text from different authors coming into the GCSE set text list. But the sort of favourite texts that are studied are still largely by, dead white male writers. And but looking at adaptations, there can either be diverse casting or blind casting that sort of mean that people of different backgrounds are represented on screen, and students can see those people on screen. There's also the way that adaptations diversify some of the themes, decolonize some of the themes of the original text, and bring new perspectives on those themes that students can then take back to the original text and discuss. Adaptations are also a way of seeding the idea of intertextuality, which becomes much more important as students move towards A-level study. And by intertextuality here, we mean sort of rather simply how other texts can be alluded to in adaptations, particularly if a director has directed other things. For example, the Joe Wright Pride and Prejudice from 2005 is there's a kind of resonance there with the later Atonement film. Also, that adaptations through intertextuality can add another meaning to some of the original texts. This could be a quite an interesting hook for students who might then think, well, actually, I would like to study literature at A level, because as we know, it's sort of been a struggle to keep the numbers up there. What a particular actor's performance can bring to a character, or production choices such as the way a set's designed, costuming, can also draw out aspects of the original text, can also allow students to reflect back on aspects of the original text. Thank you, Ellie. So how do adaptations make it fun? Above all, the resources that we're going to look at today are very active. They will have students engaging with their set text in a whole range of ways, from games and drama elements to oracy activities that the new curriculum review is looking to bring back, to the more formal tasks of analysis, comparative activities, looking at context and kinds of written outcomes that students will be responding to in the exam. Through visual media, for the visual media of adaptations, the resources open up the more challenging areas of the text, making them, and importantly, their language more accessible. And it's quite interesting sometimes for students to compare the language that the adapter has used in the adaptation to help them understand and compare with the language in the original text. Adaptations also reinforce genre conventions, introduce students to other conventions of the film genres, and look at ways of storytelling from page to performance. And that's particularly important with narrative voice, looking at the way narrative voice is translated to screen and then reflecting back to the original text, to sort of get a handle on what the author's doing there. These tasks also perhaps reflect aspects of what we might consider traditional media coursework that may indeed be on its way back through the curriculum review, and to understand the visual aspects of the adaptation through looking at production values, production choices, and stagecraft. Thank you, Ellie. Above all, though, these resources have been designed to be flexible, and considering this flexibility was vital to their development. We particularly wanted them to be used across the reading journey from years 9 to 11, so that you'll see in a moment when Ellie opens up the lesson 2 page plan, that we have a range of activities in the starters, for example, that start with a pre-reading activity, sort of post first read activity, and then a revision activity coming back to in year 11 to look at perhaps more nuanced aspects of the text at that point through the adaptation. We're kind of well aware that everyone always wants to sort of pick a mix and make their own smorgasbord of activities from materials, and so we've certainly borne that in mind. And there's a whole range of extension activities in there as well, which we hope will allow for students' different abilities. So the lesson could be delivered as a kind of let's look at a key extract and draw out, particular aspects of character or theme through the adaptation to sort of prepare for an exam response. But it also offers a lot more than that.
I think it would be helpful at this point to show you the lesson, actually. So hopefully you can all see this. Give me a nod, Lucy, if you can. Fantastic. So this is the lesson plan that Lucy and I put together. And really, just from a personal perspective, I love A Christmas Carol, and I actually love teaching it. I've taught it at Key Stage 3, but also in the lead up to GCSE, and then obviously as revision as well. And I just think it's such a rich text in terms of character and language and plot and structure. So what we've tried to do is kind of take all of that wonderfulness and put it with the adaptations that we've chosen. So you'll see in the kind of first page that we've got here, we've got the 2 clips that we're recommending for this particular lesson, which is about the Ghost of Christmas Present. And then it goes through, as Lucy was saying, with some scene setting, starting points, and then on to main activities. So what I'm going to show you really is a little bit of flavour of that pick and mix planning that Lucy was talking about. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll skip back to my slide. Here it is. And what we mean by pick and mix planning is, as Lucy said, that you can use it at different points of your planning of their learning journey, but equally fantastic ideas for cover, which I always know is very important practically for teachers, very busy teachers, particularly during the autumn term, and it all goes a bit insane. So this is an example of a pre-reading activity, and it's based on the first Christmas card, which was released the same year that A Christmas Carol was written, in fact, or published. And it's at the V&A. The children can see this. It's on their website as well. And I love it as a starting point for A Christmas Carol, because it offers up this visual literacy that we're referring to when we're talking about the clips that we're going to show as well. And you can talk about colour, you can talk about the people that are in it, the symbols that come up from the Christmas card. But very importantly, I think, are the 2 side panels, slightly in the shadows. What does Christmas really mean? And I think that the relevance of this Christmas card to teenagers might seem very tenuous. But in fact, when you look at those different panels, it really gets the children to think about what Christmas really means to them. Is it a fantastic family, joyful Christmas, or is it about giving and helping others, which of course is incredibly relevant to the text itself. I also think it offers up some historical and social context too. It's that really important GCSE element you can put in straight away, but in a really interesting way. And I think I'm going to move on to the central activities now, unless Lucy, you've got anything to add to that one.
No, I'd just say obviously this is something that students might refer to in a sort of written outcome eventually, integrating that knowledge of the first Christmas card came out at the same time, exactly the same time as the novella. So it's about that integrating that contextual material as well.
And I've done it in different ways as well. I've kind of stuck it in the middle of their page, and then we've written all over it, or you can have it as a digital resource and write all over it that way. And then, as Lucy said, you can do an extended written answer, including some of that contextual work that you thought of. The central activities, obviously slightly bigger as we go through the lesson, but one of the main skills that we focused on is comparison. So obviously that comes up in several of the papers that they'll have to tackle at GCSE. And for us, it's integral to what we're doing because it's comparing the text to the adaptations that we're finding on ERA. So here's an example of one. It's about the Cratchit's family Christmas. And here what we're doing is asking the pupils to find kind of an aspect of family that they recognise in the adaptation, and then also finding it in the novella, a quote to match it. I think if you were being quite straightforward with this teaching, you might say that looks like a PEE, a point evidence explanation, which would be perfectly acceptable, and I think would be really useful for starting off linking and working on structure for GCSE. In this, of course, we have different adaptations that we've offered. One of them is a one-man dramatisation of A Christmas Carol. So it can be really interesting to compare even further. So the text with one adaptation and then another, to see how they've done that in a slightly different way. And we've recommended certain clips from those particular adaptations that you can do that with. Now, of course, practically, when the children are comparing, what we've put into the lesson plan are some ideas of connectives or discourse markers, you might call them. So, on the other hand, in addition, equally, similarly, and just being able to embed those certain words is really important as they move forward in GCSE. And the more that they're doing that, the better, whether that's in writing or if that is in speaking as well. And actually, the next central activity that I wanted to show you was embeds oracy more than any other, really. And this one's about language. So with their adaptations, a lot of the time they are using Dickens's words and his language as the basis for their scripts, or at least their setting. And what we found with the adaptations was that the oracy part of the adaptations actually illuminated the text so much more and brought it to life. And we felt, whilst we were compiling these resources, that they could really be a great basis for exploring the language that Dickens uses. So in this case, I'll just skip back to the lesson plan so you can see that. In this case, what we're looking at is the positivity during the Christmas meal. Let me scroll in so you can see. And we've got an example here. So the noun bustle describes the movement of the family in preparing the meal once everyone has arrived. It suggests there's an energy in the room now that they're all together because they're excited about seeing each other. Now, what's great about that example is that you can actually visually see that in the adaptations, and that's why we used it. And the other example that we've used is hyperbole. I particularly love the Cratchit's hyperbolic phrasing about this poor, meagre Christmas dinner. And we really thought we could make the most of that one. And let me go back to here. And what is fantastic about talking about language in this case, sorry everyone, I'm on two screens at the moment, skipping between things. What's great about talking about language when you have an actual example of it being used in real life is that you can use that terminology and it comes to life. But equally, that you can ask the children to write something and then in the same tone or the same register deliver that line that they have written, or some of the script that they want to repeat as well. So I think the opportunities for oracy and this particular text, but also in this particular manner comparing the text to the films, makes a huge difference. There's a real opportunity to get them speaking. Lucy, did you want to add anything about the central activities?
I think this would be a great opportunity to play the clip, actually, which not only displays that, sort of just demonstrates that, but also it's got this wonderfully diverse cast, which I think also supports one of the points that I was making earlier.
Fantastic. So this is the stage adaptation, isn't it, Lucy? Do you want to introduce it?
Yes, it's the Mark Gatiss stage adaptation that I think has come back by popular demand. Oh, if you can hear me doubly now. It's been on several tours, and this is at the point where Scrooge has met the ghost of Christmas present and has taken them to the Cratchit's house.
An honest expression on its face. It's a wonderful knocker. Ah, here's the turkey. Hello. How are you?
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, yes. Merry
Ellie,
Christmas.
I'm not sure this is the right clip.
Sorry about that, everyone. Just bear with me 1 second. I think I might be in the wrong one. Let's just double check. Oh, it's all going so well, and then this happens. Technical issues.
It's always when you want to play the clip as well.
Always, always. Remind me of where I should be, Lucy.
It's in the lesson plan. If you click on the latest clip at the top of the lesson 2 plan, I think it should come up.
That would be so much better. I'm glad we put those links in. Let me do that. I'm just trying to be all clever. Right, okay. Let me know how this one goes.
And if we move it on to about 1:30 on the clip, so we don't watch too much. Brilliant. And then I think we just need the sound, Ellie.
Bear with me 1 second.
Brilliant.
Well, we'd a deal of work to finish up last night and had to clear away this morning, Mum.
Well, never mind, as long as you are come. Sit down by the fire, love. Have a warm, bless you.
No, there's Dad coming. Hide, Martha! Hide!
Hide? Where?
Under the table.
Oh, good one.
And God send you a happy new year. Hello, my dears. Hey, where's Martha?
She's not coming.
Not coming. Not coming. On Christmas Day.
I know. Ain't it a shame?
Awful shame.
Fearful shame.
No, I can't bear it, Dad.
Oh, phew.
Even if it's only for a joke. Here I
Come
am.
here, my girl. Look at you. Come on then, up you go. Give me that. You see, Tim.
Come hear the pudding in the copper, Tim. Singing like archangels it is.
It's all right. You go. I'm a bit tired.
How was he today, love?
As good as gold and better. He gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much. And thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me coming home that he hoped people saw him in the church because of how he is. And that it might be pleasant for them to remember upon Christmas Day who made the lame walk and blind men see.
Oh.
It's getting stronger, my love. I know he is. He'll grow hale and hearty. Now, where's that punch?
Oh, punch!
Come on, my dear, sit yourselves down.
Tried some earlier. It was
Christmas passing by without us, do we? Watch yourself on them taters now, they'll still be up.
The goose!
Duck!
Tim, dinner's ready.
Up
Thank you.
we go.
Someone has a-
Coming through.
Thank you. Ready? Right. Does it taste as good? It's hot.
Oh, my dears. Such a goose. There never was such a goose. No, they didn't.
Pudding? Pudding time!
I don't think I've room.
All of yours then?
Oh, where are you now? I don't know where you put it. I feel quite faint. What if I haven't done enough? I have to confess, I have my doubts about the quantity of flour.
Don't be daft.
It'd be right as ninepence. When is it ever not, eh, Dad?
Never in all these Christmases is it ever less than superlative, my love.
But what if it breaks when we turn it out?
Oh, what if burglars have come over the wall and had away with it while we were merry with the goose?
Oh, you're all awful.
Look at that. She surpassed herself again, ain't she, my dears? This pudding, I hereby declare, the crowning glory of my dear wife's marital career.
Hear, hear.
Now, I've waited till this day of all days to impart a little information. It's what we in the world of high finance, source, is what we, captains of industry, refer to as an opportunity. I have my eye on a situation for Master Peter Cratchit over yonder. Him, as is drowning in his dad's Sunday best collar, and as his father's looks besides. A situation that will bring in, if obtained, full 5 and 6 weekly.
5 and 6?
Blimey.
Now, weren't that worth saving up, eh? A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us.
God bless us. God bless us. Everyone.
Fantastic clip. And Lucy and I did go back and forth a little bit, didn't we, about whether we use this adaptation. And we decided very strongly that we should, because it was so interesting to have the adaptation on film, but of a theatre production. And it just added that extra dimension for us, didn't it? Did you want to add anything to that, Lucy?
I just love the choreography of that. Well, all the choreography, but that choreography of the meal, where they're literally almost like worshipping the plates and the cutlery, and I just think you can get so much out of that in terms of what a stage production can do that you probably wouldn't get in a film with that. And looking at the way props are used in that way to sort of show that family spirit.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's just fantastic, and really gives an opportunity if there isn't a production happening near you, that you're able to kind of see the theatre production. I think is just such a lovely thing. So we're here, and talking of drama, perfect. One of the things, as Lucy said, that we've tried to do throughout the resources is put in as many active activities as we can. And also thinking a little bit outside the box with the writing, because obviously for A Christmas Carol, during their exam, they're going to be analysing the language, the characters, the plot and the structure, and perhaps not engaging so much with the inspiration they can get for their own creative writing. So one of the examples of a writing task that we put together is writing a Christmas Day diary for different Belindas, because we noticed when we're looking at the different clips that Belinda Cratchit, slightly secondary character, and how she's presented in the novel is actually quite different to how she's presented in the adaptations. And actually all the siblings come across in different ways throughout the different adaptations. So we thought that was a really interesting way of doing it. Also addressing the nature of form for English language as well. And the other thing that we looked at was, of course, drama, because what they're seeing in these adaptations are fantastic actors, directors, choreographers, and we really wanted to dig into that and make sure that they had felt part of that at least. And so one of the examples that we put up here is charades for Mrs. Cratchit. Very simple. They do it a lot in drama classes too, and it really just enhances the understanding of character. So for us, it was Mrs. Cratchit at different points of the meal, how she's feeling, different freeze frames. But there's lots of ideas very similar to that for the writing and the drama activities that we've got. Lucy, would you want to add anything to that?
I don't think so. I think it'd be good to move on to the extensions, because there's another.
Absolutely. Very similar, I guess, in this case. So our extensions are not just necessarily for the most able. It's really, I think, for maintaining kind of that engagement and really digging in to the text, but also the adaptations whilst we get into revision time. So we've got a couple of examples here, but they are wide-ranging. we were very creative with our extensions. So actually the first example is based on the clip that you just saw, and it's about stagecraft and how choreography and props are used to create atmosphere and character. With that, we put together a table, as you can see on the slide. And so again, kind of thinking about that structuring of how you would write it, giving a point, giving some evidence, and then thinking about how that matches some comparison at the end too. And then also we were thinking about the ideal family, how often the Cratchits come across as kind of bucolic and just perfect in every single way. But actually, are they perfect? What changed? Why are they not perfect? What's happening? And what's happening in all of the different adaptations as well as in the text? So we love doing the extensions, but again, they can be a bit of a pick and mix. So you can choose them as possibly a homework task, a cover lesson, something to think about that's a bit more exciting during that revision time as well. But I think I'm going to pass back to you now, Lucy, to think about skills.
Thank you. So I think that gives you a flavour of the kind of extension activities we're offering, and also those two, one sort of slightly outside the box, and one again, we very much cover all the sort of themes and main sort of character developments that students obviously do need to know about when they're going in to do the extract question in the exam. So those are they run alongside each other in these resources. Yes, so I wanted to draw your attention to this grid that we've put into another of the resources that you can find on the ERA site, which is the Introduction to the Reading Through Adaptations document, which I can sort of send you a link to. But we've put together this to show that looking at the different techniques that screenwriters use, students can use that to sort of develop their own skills for responding to in some of the English language outcomes. So, for example, on that left-hand column, we've got concision and selection and condensing material. And obviously all of that would feed into the summarizing task that students have to do in paper 2 for both AQA and Edexcel. The structuring, invention, and thematic linking are all important elements of creative writing that students would have to do in their English language task for paper 1, the story writing or responding to the image. And obviously we've talked about the comparison of texts, and that's needed in question 4 and question of paper 2 for AQA, question 7 in paper 2 for Edexcel in the English language paper. The report writing, letter writing, diary writing, these are all things that could come up in the transactional writing tasks in paper 2. So those are the kinds of skills that by observing them in these texts and by doing them in some of the activities, students are also preparing for the English language. I know is important because, you know, English language time is squeezed in the timetable. Obviously, we've talked about the ways that these tasks are also preparing students for the literature outcomes as well. And in that table, where we've got the heading example there's lots of examples from different films and TV dramas on the ERA site, which show these kinds of skills, which means that if you want to sort of look at those skills in another text, in perhaps a sort of 19th century literature project, then there's lots of examples to use there. I should mention that we are currently developing a new resource for Pride and Prejudice along the same lines with ERA, which will also include a digital tool which will have a direct comparison on screen between the novel and Andrew Davies's 1995 BBC adaptation. At DMU hold the Andrew Davies papers in the special collections department there. And Susie, I see you mentioned in the chat if you'd like to be involved in a group that we've got going to discuss those materials, please do get in touch with me. Right, so I think that's it from me, apart from could we just move on to the final slide? I'm trying to do it myself. The further resources, I just put a list together there of some other resources. If you're interested in the idea of adaptations and want to read up a bit more about it, there's some resources there for you to look at. I would highly recommend, if you don't already know it, John Yorke's Into the Woods: How Stories Work and Why We Tell Them. John Yorke being a sort of prolific TV producer and writer, and he's great at looking at how narrative transfers to the screen in all the sort of different conventions of script writing. Okay, so really like now to open up the floor to any questions. I see there have been a couple of questions coming in, and I think they've probably been answered. There was a question, I think, about whether it was confusing to study adaptations alongside the text. And I think that is definitely a common worry among examiners, where they see responses where students are referring to things that happen in an adaptation rather than in a novel or a play. And I think this is one of the reasons, another reason why we wanted to produce these materials, because we wanted to provide a way where we could sort of delineate the differences between the two very clearly and always direct the work from the adaptation back to the text as a way of enlightening and deepening understanding of it. So please do put forward any questions you might have.
I think just to add to that, Lucy, I would say having shown lots of different adaptations of A Christmas Carol and taught the text as well, I think just being very explicit is helpful. And if you're saying that's an interpretation of this, and that isn't the case in the book, is it? And then you're being really explicit with that comparison. Not only are you practicing that skill, but you also avoid that pitfall when it comes to the exam, for sure.
I think there's one question here from Jasmine around the ERA license. So maybe I'll just explain, since I'm the sort of ERA representative on the panel here. ERA are a copyright licensing agency, and effectively we operate a license that allows the use of broadcast recordings, so that'll be TV and radio clips, in educational establishments. It arises from an exception in the Copyright and Patents Act of 1988, so I won't bore you with the sort of legal details. I think the important thing for teachers to know is that the DofE pay for the license centrally for all state schools in England. So all state schools are covered by this license. That allows them to use TV and radio in their teaching, whether they're getting that from the ERA site or from iPlayer or one of the streaming services. So that will also, having the ERA license will give you access to the ERA site, and this is where you'll be able to access the materials that Ellie and Lucy have put together. If you're not a state school, if you're an independent school or a college, I wouldn't worry. Like I mentioned in the chat, I think it's about 96% of all educational establishments are licensed. If you sign up, there's no charge, there's no fee. Don't worry if you're not licensed. It probably just means you won't be able to select your school. So all you really need to do to register is go to era.org.uk/registration. And we just need you to sign up using your educational email address. And that's how we verify that you are licensed. So hopefully that's cleared that up. Does that apply to Wales? Yes, Wales are covered at a local authority level. So there's a very, very, very small number of schools, I believe, that aren't covered. But again, if you're working at a state school in Wales, it's 99% likely that you're covered already, and therefore you'll be able to sign up with no problems at all. That's no problem at all. Thanks, Jasmine.
Just to answer Nikki's query there, the other adaptations, which we'd have loved to have shown some clips from, but time didn't allow, the Stephen Knight's 2019 TV adaptation, which is stunning and pairs things back a lot and plays up lots of different themes, which are nicely contrasting with the novel as well. That's one of them. The other one is, as I think Ellie mentioned, the Simon Callow one-man dramatization, which I think he wrote with one other writer, and is set against a very minimalistic background, but it's absolutely stunning. And the way he plays the way he plays the final sort of the Ghost of Christmas Future scene is incredible. If you don't watch anything else, don't watch that. Yeah.
I would also just add to that it is stunning, but also that it's such a great opportunity to do some cross-curricular work with either kind of the drama department in your schools and theatre studies and media. Particularly that one man adaptation is just because it is so pared back. There's so much happens within his own performance, which is fascinating. And then equally with the Stephen Knight one, the choices that they make about character, about gender, about setting are really fascinating to kind of look at in more a general studies way as well. So I definitely think there's a scope for cross-curricular work for sure. And we've had a question about an Inspector Calls as well. What another classic, another favourite.
Yeah, I mean, there is that great BBC, recent BBC, which I know caused some controversy of the way they did the ending. But yeah, I mean, there isn't quite so much scope there. There haven't been that many adaptations. We could look at the really old film, I guess. There's been some good radio ones, and that's another way that you can, engage students through radio drama, listening skills. It's great for listening skills. And I'd love to do some work on that with Inspector Calls.
And particularly, I think, thinking about that key listening skill, I think is fantastic. And moving forward, there's going to you would hope in terms of the push towards oracy, there'll be a lot more focus on that as well. And thinking about tone and register, I think that, and for flip learning, oh my goodness, audiobooks and radio shows, podcasts are just fantastic to use to get the kids to do that kind of pre-reading before you come into class. Really fantastic to do.
And there's also some great material on the ERA site, contextual material and documentaries that we can make clips from to sort of to help with that as well, so that you're not sort of floundering around trying to find the right clip all the time, which can be very time consuming, I know. Yeah, you can also make your own clips on the ERA site, or ask for them, which is great. Yeah, so that's great. That's great feedback about the Gatiss filmed play. Yes, quite agree. And we're hoping that really the activities open up students' personal views. I don't know whether you find that students respond more readily to the adaptations and Sheila, or whether you've had a go at that. And yes, Macbeth is the other biggie, isn't it? And yeah, that adaptation would be wonderful, but unfortunately we haven't got everything. We can't have access to absolutely everything on the ERA site, and it's almost impossible to gain permission to take clips from.
I think just a quick word on that particular production of Macbeth, that hasn't been broadcast, so it hasn't been aired on TV, and therefore it doesn't fall under the remit of the ERA license. So
it might be one day.
Exactly. If it ever gets played out on the BBC or Channel 4, or one of the major broadcasters who we represent, then we'll definitely be able to upload it. But until it is, it's out of our limits, unfortunately.
I think we might be about to end. So if anybody wants to contact me directly to ask any questions, or let us know about the way that you are using adaptations in the classroom, we'd love to hear, so that we can feed that back into any other products that we work on, any other titles that we get the chance to work on.
Thank you so much, Lucy and Ellie and Joshua. It's just been such a treat to have that guided tour through the resources. So thank you ever so much. The EA were just delighted to support this work. And thank you to everyone else for joining us as well for your brilliant questions. As Lucy says, if you had a question that we didn't get to, you can drop Lucy a note or me, and I'll put you in touch with Lucy or Ellie or Joshua, indeed. So thank you very much, everybody, and I hope to see you at another one of our events soon. Thank you.
Thank you.